In this episode of the Friend to Friend podcast, we are joined by my great friend, Michael Ali, aka the Children's Cup Web Wizard. He is an amazing friend. He is so invested in our heart at Children's Cup and what we do, giving hope to kids whose world is working against them, who are facing just really tough odds. And the reason for that is Michael's childhood journey growing up. He also faced a lot of challenges and a lot of struggles. But there were people all along his path, all along his journey, God placed in his life to speak greatness into him, to inspire him to dream big, to call out the true identity that God had for him. And as Michael started to embrace that, he was activated as a world changer. And so it's so cool to sit down with him and just hear the process of his experience and about those friends who impacted his life. And now Michael is a new dad. He has a son. He is rediscovering what childhood wonder and awe is all about. It's so cool to see this fresh perspective and this joy that he has on his life. His zeal and his wonder is so contagious. I really think you guys are going to be so inspired with this episode. So we hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, I'm Tori Townley. Welcome to the Friend to Friend podcast. Today I have one of my great friends and pretty much basically brother, Michael Ali. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You are amazing. You are one of our amazing team members. You are known as, well, you run the website. We call you the Web Wizard.
Right.
You're basically like a brother. So you're my brother's brother-in-law, which makes you family for sure.
The connection's there, for sure.
You do all kinds of things. You make movies with my brothers. You're a videographer, worship pastor, dad. You apparently sew and design clothes. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, not well, but it's for fun.
Tell me just a little bit for people who have never met you. I'm sure most people have seen you on some of our videos and stuff, but like just a little fun facts about you.
So I was born in this city called Greenville, Illinois. It's like kind of outside of St. Louis. My mom was going to college there. I lived out there for a while, but most of my childhood I lived in Indiana on this farm with my grandparents and my mom and my two little sisters.
That's so cool.
Then when I was 14, we moved to Denham Springs. Seems super random. My mom was dating this guy on eHarmony for like a year.
eHarmony.
And I know.
Like
eHarmony.
the original.
I know. And but anyways, he lived in Denham Springs. And so they were like, oh, we're going to get married. And so we just moved to Denham.
Okay.
I know. It's so strange. So that we're in Louisiana. But yeah, I went to school there, started going to church, ended up going to college at LSU where I met Julia, who's my wife. We've been married for almost 5 years now. We have one kid. His name's Theodore.
He's so cute.
He's awesome.
He's so awesome.
Except he really knows how the word no works now. And so it's like this week is the first time I'll be like, Theo, can you do this? And he goes, no. But he has to use his hands. And so he goes, no.
Oh my gosh. He just turned 1, right?
Yeah,
like
in November.
Okay.
So he's like 15 months.
Oh my gosh. He's so sweet. It's so much fun to watch you and Julia become parents. Like, y'all are just the best. Y'all are obsessed with him and we are too. He's so sweet.
It is fun. It's interesting.
It's so cool.
I also finally understand, before I had a kid, people would say, this kid is like 150 months old. And I'd be like, why do people do these months for so long? But he's got like he's got a cousin that's like 8 months older than him.
Okay,
and
so it matters.
Yeah, like they're both 1, but the older cousin can do, it's different. So it finally makes sense. I think there's definitely still a cutoff where it's like, okay, they're just 3. But yeah, anyways.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
It is funny how you become your parents and you think, why did people do this stuff? Like when you're a kid, you're like, this is so weird. And then you actually have a kid and you're like, okay, maybe it makes sense, whatever.
So funny. I love it. Thank you so much for jumping on. I really wanted to ask you to be on this episode because you have such an incredible story. Like your your life growing up was different and challenging in a lot of ways. And the way that you've let God like bring your story full circle and there's such a redemption represented, even just watching you become a parent and like the meaningful work that you do today. and the grace that you walk through all of it with. You have such a positive perspective. I know we're kind of like jumping deep really fast, but
Sure.
if you would, like, just tell us about like your childhood growing up. What was life like? How did it maybe set you apart a bit? Some of the things you faced.
So like I said, I was born in this college town, and that was pretty much all that was in that city. And my mom was married to this guy, and they ended up having 2 more kids. So I've got 2 little sisters, and while my mom was pregnant with the second sister, her and my dad ended up splitting up. They had my dad had struggled with like substance abuse stuff for a while, and so they would move around a lot, and he would just try and solve the problem by just leaving. Just like, we're in Chicago, so we're just going to go to Indianapolis, and that's how they ended up in El Paso, where they ended up eventually splitting. And so my mom was pregnant with my sister, the third kid. And my first sister, she's got spina bifida, so she's in a wheelchair. She's got no function in her legs, and so she's got 2 young kids. We're all within like 18 months.
I didn't realize
or like there's
that
like about
close.
18 months between each of us. So
Whoa.
like right now I'm 24, Anina's 23, and Zoe's 22.
Wow.
So 2 young kids, one with physical limitations, and then pregnant with another. And my mom ends up divorced, and it was a tough season. I don't remember much of it. I was just 2. I have some faint memories here and there, just like pictures, and honestly, it could just be pictures, like actual photos that I saw. I don't know. But my mom ended up marrying someone else there about probably a year or 2 later, and they were married for probably 7 years, I think, 7 or 8.
Okay.
And we eventually moved back up to Indiana, which is where my mom's family's from. Her parents are there, her sister. And so we were there. And when I was about 11 or 12, they ended up getting divorced as well. And my mom and my sisters moved back to that college town, Greenville, because my mom never finished college. She still had like a year left.
Okay.
And so my mom and my sisters moved there, and I stayed with my stepdad because he actually adopted my sisters and I at one point. So during the divorce, he was already my legal guardian, and so my mom ended up getting custody of my sisters, and my stepdad got custody of me. So that was a crazy situation. I had been homeschooled all the way up until this point, and now it's I'm 11 or 12 in 7th grade, and I'm doing my first year of public school, and my mom and my sisters are 6 hours away.
Oh, baby,
it's like,
Michael.
I know, it was such a weird.
So hard.
It was just definitely. It was difficult, but in the moment, all I could think about is just, this is so strange.
Man.
Like, it was just weird. But anyways, about a year and a half later, my mom was graduating from college, so I went to go visit her. And my dad had he lost his job, my stepdad, whenever they got divorced, and he had kind of gone down a bad path, and it was tough at home, and my mom had known that. And so while I was there visiting for her graduation, she mentioned the eHarmony thing.
Okay.
That she's like, I've been dating this guy on eHarmony for this past year. And anyways, he's coming up here for graduation. And after I graduate, we're packing up all our stuff, and we're going to move to Denham Springs, Louisiana with him. And we're going to get married in 2 weeks. And she was like, if you want to move down there with us, you can. Or after the graduation, you can go back with your dad. And so I was like, hey, whatever, I'll go to Louisiana, and hopped in the van, drove down there. Definitely like halfway down, I was like, did I make a really bad choice? Like, I started thinking about, like, I left like that one pair of jeans in my room. Like, I think I had a Rubik's Cube. Like, where's my Rubik's Cube at? It's still on my shelf. I wonder who's going to get my Xbox. Like, just dumb 12-year-old things.
Left everything.
Yeah. I mean, I was just there for 3 or 4 days, I think, for my mom's graduation. So I just had like a duffel bag and a backpack. So it was,
wow,
that was interesting.
That's intense.
And then the guy my mom married, had 2 kids, and one was a year older than me and one was a year younger than me. Okay. So we were all 5 kids in this like 3-bedroom house, just trying to figure it all out, mesh it together. There was definitely a lot of tension, a lot of just fights, just I mean, you're just trying to figure out how to make it work. Nobody really knows each other that well, but we're living together. So,
wow. That was intense.
It was, yeah, it was.
Man.
And then a year, almost to the day after we moved to Louisiana, my stepdad was just not feeling very well, and I think I went to school one day and knew like he wasn't going to work. He was just like staying in bed, not feeling well. When I got back, my mom was like, he needs to go to the hospital.
Oh boy.
And so, but he was a big guy, like 6'5", maybe like close to 300 pounds. And it's like, I'm 14 years old and my mom, we're trying to figure out how to get him into the car because he can't like walk himself there. And so we had to like put him in a desk chair and wheel him out.
It's actually really smart.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with that idea. Probably my little sister. But anyways, that was on a Friday, and he ended up passing away Sunday.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He had, goodness, I think it was like liver failure, something just like sudden, just don't know really what caused it, but that was... And then we're in a weird situation because it's me and my two sisters, my mom, and then his two kids. And my mom doesn't know what to do. She works like part-time at a library, and she's got 5 kids she's trying to figure out. And so that just started into another weird section of life. I was probably 14. And we just decided to stay in Louisiana and try and figure it out. And I'm glad that we did, because we were part of this church that my youth pastor was friends with some people that basically that's how I got connected to school, like at LSU, and then to some of these church events for college students. And that's where I met Julia. And now, like, so we started dating, get married, and everybody that I work with here, I met through that connection.
That's so cool.
It's so strange, to think like, man, my mom went through 2 divorces, and then we lost a stepfather, and it's like just chaos. Yeah. But all of that lined up to where I ended up in the position at that school, at that event, to meet Julia, and now everything I do for work, I mean, everything in my life is completely different because of that.
Wow.
And so
That's
it's like,
so powerful.
It's weird. You think like, man, I wish I could change this, or I wish this wouldn't have been so bad. And I do wish things were different, and divorce is never good, and it's always just painful, and losing someone is the same thing. So I do wish that those could have been differently, but I'm super grateful that in spite of those things happening, I still was positioned to be able to have the life that I have now. And I think my little sisters probably would say the same thing too, where they're at. Just lines up.
That is incredible. I can't imagine, like, just the childhood, like, your mom was doing her best that she had, but you as a kid, I feel like you were not forced, but like you were thrown into like survival. Yeah. You're having to like be the man of the house a lot of times. You're having to like take care of things and just grow up really quickly. Like, I don't know, do you feel like you had a chance to like really enjoy childhood, or was it just kind of like, I'm just trying to get through? Like, what did you see yourself even as a kid, like most of the time?
I probably not. Being homeschooled, this. You just end up hanging out with a lot of adults no matter what. True. Yeah, and so you kind of just, it's easy to get kind of like a big head. Like, I'm like these people, I'm not a kid.
That's funny.
But I think there were people positioned in my life that really did help keep me there. I think about like a lot of youth pastors who just helped. They knew what I was going through at home, what type of situations that I was living in. And so whenever I was at church or at youth camp or whatever, just getting dinner or lunch with them, they did whatever they could to keep me in that place of like, you are still a kid. It's okay. You can just enjoy being dumb and 14. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can just like go bowling. I don't know. I feel like people brought me bowling a lot. It's so weird. It's just like cheap and easy.
It's like a go-to thing around here. I don't know why. It's so funny.
But yeah, but yeah, we could do that. We can just hang out, or even just like all of Julia's family, and all of you guys hanging out. Just like doing like Christmases and like, hey, everybody's gonna sit on the floor and like we're gonna have presents under the tree and we'll go like one at a time, or like going to Disney World and stuff like that. It's just like, I've had people prioritize that for me, which has been so special,
cool, man.
you know.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask about today. I was just like, I didn't know you growing up. Like the second I met you, you are just like the most wonder-filled Ascension Parish, wonder-filled guy. Like I've gone with you your first time to Disney. You were on our family trip, but like watching your eyes light up, like it's a churro. It's okay. You're like, you know, like
yeah.
Just watching that experience, like where does that come from? And now that I know more of your story, I'm like, you are almost rediscovering a lot of the parts of childhood that you didn't always get a choice to experience. And even like watching you become a dad with Theo, it's like there's a part of you is coming alive in a whole different way. Like what is that like to almost rediscover your childhood?
It's interesting. It's definitely fun. I mean, we talked about this some before. You a lot of times as a kid, you're just like, you're super excited, you have all this energy, all this wonder, and all of life is trying to teach you to like rein it in and be like, this is like, you need to be able to do this, and you need to be able to focus for this long and be able to take these tests and whatever. And in most senses, I think it's a pretty good system for like teaching kids how to like do math and stuff, but it's too easy to like just let it spill over into everything. Yeah. There are definitely times where it's like, hey, this is a serious moment, or this is something that's important. We need to have the ability to focus in like that. But so it's, I don't know. I feel like too easily we just hammer it in and don't let kids or people have that awe and that wonder in the rest of their life, and just teach them when is the proper place to use it. And I think because of how my childhood went, I didn't really get that like hammered into me as much. It was a weird childhood. And so because I was already kind of like having some more responsibility at like 10 or 11, and nobody was trying to like tell me to like, you need to calm down, you need to relax, you needed to like focus, because I just had to. Yeah. And so now I feel like it was almost kind of like a blessing, where I don't have these like things burned into my brain of like compressing myself down or holding my personality inside. It's crazy. Yeah, it is. It's
crazy how what the enemy or whatever tried to take. Yeah. Like taking that away now as an adult, you're like reawakening childhood, not just in like the kids that we serve around the world, but like in the people around you. Like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I can be excited about churros too. Yeah. Like it's a gift that you bring to every community, every circle that you walk into. And not a lot of people, I think, have the ability to do that. Like you could walk around and feel like the trauma or the scars. Like I know there's a lot more in your story that you didn't share today, but like you carry enough, I don't want to say baggage because you've not allowed it to become that, but the way that you have chosen to let the very places that could be pain become sources of hope and joy and peace for others is incredible. So like, has that been just a natural thing for you? Like you're just wide open with your story and you didn't allow your heart to grow bitter? Or like, was that a work? Is that an intentional thing? I don't know. I'm just thinking about the people who are listening. Like a lot of people have gone through some intense things, and it's so easy to just say, well, that's a pain point. Let me look somewhere else. Yeah. But you're like, no, that's the very thing that's going to get me to where I want to be.
I think right before Julia and I met, the summer before I started college, I had some friends, and probably 4 or 5 of us, and one of our buddies had an apartment, and we hung out all the time, and we all did like worship stuff at church, and we were just good buddies. And one thing that we always did, we would stay up super late and just till all hours of the morning and just get like a few hours of sleep. And then it was like, we're
pre-parent days.
Yes. And one of the things I realized, I would always just like crash, just like pass out in their living room somewhere, just like at their place, watching something stupid on YouTube or whatever. And I realized I was doing that because I did not like going to bed. Because if I decided to go to bed and decided that the day was over, then that's when your mind like starts to wander, and that's when you're like, okay, it's over. Let me like recap. What did I do? What did I accomplish? And I just hated being alone with my thoughts, and so we would just stay as busy as possible, like nonstop, until it was just impossible to stay awake for 1 second longer, and then just crash on the couch.
Whoa!
Because it was the only way to just avoid your own mind.
That's intense.
It was. And that's, I think, that's when I realized that one day that like I haven't gone to bed in like a month. You know,
gosh.
like I've been sleeping every night, but I haven't made that decision like I'm going to go get in bed and it's going to be over. That's when I was like, I need to find something different, because this is miserable and this is not sustainable. So I just started talking to, he wasn't my youth pastor anymore, but this guy, Josh Howard. And I was like, I just need to figure something out. And he really encouraged me just to pour my energy into school.
Wow.
It was like, not because school is just like this perfect thing, but it was just like, this is something that you have in front of you that you can do instead. And so you just need to pick something and you just need to do it. And so I did that, and I realized, man, if I let these experiences dictate my life, it's going to be bad. They're going to, because everything that I went through is going to affect how I am today. Either the devil can decide or I can, you know?
Wow.
And so and the thing is, it's so easy to think like, oh, I don't want to make a decision, and so I'm just going to leave it up to chance. But that is making a decision.
That's true.
And just, so
it's true.
I think that was big for me. That summer was terrible. It was a bad summer, but it was eye-opening, and it got me to the point where I was like, man, I either can let all this stuff control me or I can use it to my advantage.
Wow.
And
that's clearly the right choice. Like, you've done that.
I hope
and
so.
You've crafted a whole life. Like, that's who you've become, is to choose the good.
Yeah.
Choose the, it's powerful, Michael. Like, I mean it. I'm not just saying that because we're on a podcast. Like,
sure.
It is a powerful thing, the way you've chosen to live. I wanted to ask you too, like, you talked about this guy, Josh Howard, and you continually like bring up the people that were in your life who kind of pointed you in the right direction, where you may not have had that always at home, but you had those people along the way. What are some of those like moments that you look back on, you're like, that person impacted me when I was a kid. They saw me and they spoke life into me. What are some of those that stick out in your mind?
It feels like dozens of them. It's like,
which is cool. Like, it's cool that like in our lives we're gonna have a bunch of these moments, and you never know who you are for somebody else. I know, and it's crazy. I'm only 24. Like, there could be hundreds more of these people. I don't know. But I know, like, my first youth pastor, when I was like 10 or 11, right when my mom was going through that second divorce. This guy, Mark Mays. There was like maybe 4 or 5 guys, like, it was a big church that we were going to, like thousands of people. Okay. And there was like 4 or 5 kids, like teenagers, that I don't know why he chose us, but he decided he was going to do like a Bible study with us. And I remember we went and we like studied Job, like the most depressing, so long book of the Bible. That's a really hard one with youth.
It is.
Wow.
Especially because the book, it's just brutal. Like, Job's friends just go on and on and on about how bad of a person he is.
I literally just got done with this. I know.
They just won't give him a break. And he's like, guys, I didn't do anything. And they're like, you did.
I would have believed them. Like, you're right. I probably did. Okay. I don't remember what it was, but you're right.
But anyways, just, I don't know why he picked the few of us, but he started that group, that small group, and brought me in, and
Wow.
that was a big moment for me. And I had a guidance counselor at school that year after the divorce, who he just knew I wasn't connecting very well because I'd been homeschooled all the way through 6th grade. And now here I am. Everybody's 11, 12 years old. They've been knowing each other for 7 or 8 years. And I'm just like, I don't know anybody. And so he could tell that I wasn't connecting well. And he invited me to be a part of this. It was a group, like a club, I guess, called My Brother's Keeper.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I think is it's a big, I don't think it was just at that school. But it was just like, it was something. It was like, hey, here's a group of kids that you're specifically like, you should hang out with them. And that was like a huge moment for me, just like somebody prioritizing me having connection and relationships.
Wow.
It's a lot of people like that. I had a few youth pastors too, after moving to Louisiana here. The worship leaders at the church that we were first going to, I wanted to like be on the worship team, and I was terrible at music, like super, super bad.
That's so funny.
But instead of saying like, no, you're bad, you can't be here, they like gave me a spot. Like I was doing the screens, running lyrics and stuff for rehearsals. And
that's cool.
It not only did they put me there so that I could still be involved, they also taught me how to read numbers, like in charts, and gave me opportunities to grow and teach me. And there's so many people just like that who just a little bit of intention for just a short amount of time. Like that first guy, Mark Mays, I talk to him maybe once a year. He like shoots me a Facebook message and we go back and forth a couple times. And so we're not in each other's daily lives anymore, hardly really connected.
Man.
But it was exactly what I needed at that time to just like kind of hand me off to the next season.
Yeah.
And so
that's powerful.
It's incredible to think, like, even without having that connection anymore, the I don't know, the repercussions of what he did are long lasting, and I still feel them.
I love that. That's so cool how it is just like, it could have just been a moment in passing that someone just saw you in that. And I feel like for me, I can discount opportunities like that. Like, oh, it's not a big deal. I see that person, but just like, it can literally change the course of somebody's life, especially a kid, like a youth. You're in that moment where it doesn't define your identity, but it reinforces what you believe about yourself when
100%.
someone sees you or passes you by. And so I just think about, I'm so grateful for the people in my life who have done the same thing. Like, just, I see you, I notice you, like literally help me find my bearings and who I am. And it's not just a simple thing to me.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that so much. You just got back from a trip to Africa for the first time.
Yeah.
I know that feels like a jump, but I'm thinking about how you have now become that person. Like, those people who invested in you, you have chosen to give your life to helping 20,000 kids across the globe find hope and learn how to dream and like become world changers, which is what like that is your story too. Like, you are now a worship pastor and you're just like doing not that that's the only thing, but like you're a dad and you're doing all these incredible things.
Sure.
And so I just wonder how going to Africa, like, what was that experience like based on just your personal story?
Yeah. It was interesting. It was, I mentioned this before once. I expected to land in Africa and look around and be like, oh, wow, everything is so different. Like, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
And there were definitely, it was infinitely different while still just realizing like, man, this is just Earth. And it's just like, this is just a city with people in it.
Yeah.
And it's no different than Baton Rouge, Louisiana, while also being like polar opposites.
Yeah.
And so that was surprising for me, looking out the window, and I was like, what's it going to look like? And it just looked like a city. And I was just not knowing what really to expect the first few days. But then you just see how it operates and you realize, oh man, these people are just like me.
Yeah.
Like, and we were laughing with some of the people there. I'm asking them about like raccoons and groundhogs and stuff. They never even heard of them. But they've got like these huge rabbits that like are jumping around like their own versions of raccoons. So again, everything's like completely different, but still it's like they've got little pests messing with their trash cans and just they're figuring out life just like we are. And everybody's just working to try and be the best person they can be and provide for their family the best they can do. And so going to a care point, it was easy to connect with the kids because I saw myself in all these kids. I feel like I saw my son in all of these kids.
Oh man, wow.
It's just kids. And I one of the things for me that helped me so much when I was a kid was people being specific, like and intentional just towards me or towards me and a small group of teenage guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I realized you can have such a big impact with kids at these care points. We would go to 2 or 3 in a day, and I would just stay in one spot with one guy and just like talk to him the whole time, this guy, and at the next place these 3 friends, just whatever. And it's incredible to see. The reason that I'm even at a care point in Africa started with me wanting to serve on that worship team and not actually being qualified or equipped to do it, but somebody saying, hey, I'm going to give you a shot to be a part of it some kind of way and we'll figure it out. And that spiraled into like all of these different passions for music and creative stuff, which drove why I picked what school I went to. Wow. And what degree I was pursuing. And that's how I ended up meeting Julia, and us getting married and doing all this is how we met Dan, and I found out about Children's Cup. And so anyways, it's just like all of these things led to me even being there in Africa at a care point with these kids. And so knowing that something that felt so insignificant, not like it did feel that insignificant at the time. It was definitely big for me, but it could seem, especially for the people, for Megan and Trey, who they were the worship leaders, who gave me that shot. It's like, oh, whatever, here's this kid. We don't know what he's going to do, what he's going to be like, but we'll give him a shot and find him a place. They're not waking up that day that I'm at the care point thinking, oh yeah, we did this, which led to all of this, which is why Michael's there today. They don't even know I'm there, you know? But it just shows how much of an impact, like, man, me being here today with these 15 pastors just visiting, hanging out with these kids, who knows what that is going to spiral into for these kids' lives. It's
I have so many goosebumps. Like, I can't talk. It's so wild.
It's crazy. It's incredible the power that God has to make things work together for his plan. So like basically God is going to do what he is going to do. Mm-hmm. He's going to make it work out, and he's going to make amazing things happen. Either we can be a part of helping that happen or not. And so it's like you can go and just like be obedient and say like, all right, I'm going to do this today, God. I don't really know why, or I don't feel like I did much. I just hung out with these kids for like 45 minutes and we like played with Legos, and then I left and I was back in America a week later. But that day is a point in someone's entire life. Wow. And it's going to spiral into every single thing that they're doing next. And that's going to impact hundreds of people, if not thousands, and every single one of it just like
so good.
It goes everywhere. It's crazy.
So good. It's such a good practice to choose to be aware of that. Like, I feel like not everybody can look at their life and be like, oh, this connected to that. And looking back on your story is something that you're so great at. You're looking back and you're seeing how God's hand was with you every step of the way. And I feel like that probably informs how you look towards the future too. Mm-hmm. So like how we view the past is how our perspective is shaped for the present and the future. And I'm inspired to like go spend some time looking back at my own life because of how you're looking at it. Like, who were those people? How can I honor them? And just being aware of that gives you encouragement to be that person for the next generation. So that's so cool. You're so passionate about that connection and supporting this idea. We have friendship now, our new friendship model. It's a year old, but it's still new. But that's like our big heart, is providing chances for people to be able to do exactly what you're talking about. Like, hey, I notice you. Let me speak life into you. So you are part of a very small team. You and Tyler created our new friendship dashboard, which is the friendship is our platform where people can connect. Tell us a little bit about that vision and how that works. It was a lot of work. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you. It's fun to figure out problems with Tyler. We think we think completely different. So like he'll come into a meeting and he'll be like, this problem is like unsolvable. We'll never figure this out. And I'm like, no, we can do it. Like, I'm just dumb enough to try it.
We love you, Tyler.
Yes. And then same vice versa. I'll come into a situation, I'm like, this is going to be way too hard. And he's like, no, are you kidding me? It's just this, and this.
You're like two halves of the brain.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's so much fun. I'm just the dumb courage and he's the brains. But yeah, it was fun. It's different to change everything from, hey, we've been doing child sponsorship for 30 years, and now it's, instead of having that one-to-one connection between a sponsor and a child, we're flipping the table, and like, it's completely new. We're changing the connection. But when you hear the heart behind it, you realize, like, oh, the reason Dana and Vicky decided to push us that way, and the whole board of directors, was because overall it's a better move for the people here in the U.S. or wherever that are donating and giving, and for the kids in the care points. The connection that they've opened up for us is just huge, and it's getting us to a point where we can reach levels that were like never attainable before in the old way. And so to build the system, it was definitely like, there was trial and error and it was difficult, but it was so easy for Tyler and I to try and do it because the vision behind it, we just believed so hard. Yes. And it's just like, we know this is the right thing to do and this is going to be better for everybody. We'll just figure it out. And so yeah, the dashboard, I think it's so awesome. I love how it enables us to be more like Jesus. Wow. Jesus would definitely stop. There's plenty of stories where he'd stop and just talk with somebody and just hone in on one specific person. But I love how Jesus's whole story is for everybody and trying to find that connection. And in John 15, it's during the Last Supper, Jesus is talking, like, he's just like throwing out all this great stuff, just like some stuff that you're like, whoa, that's pretty deep. And but at one point in verse 12, I think he stops and he says, this is my commandment, to love one another as I have loved you. And then he goes on to say, for no longer do I call you a servant, for a servant doesn't know what his master is doing, but I call you a friend. And so he tells everyone, hey, to love everyone the way that I've loved you, and the way that I've loved you is by calling you my friend. And so it's huge. It just to stop in the middle of everything and to say, hey, all this stuff that we're talking about, hey, this is my commandment, to do this. And so to put priority on friendship is, I think, one of the greatest ways that we can try and be closer to Jesus and be like him. And I think the dashboard is super, super helpful in that, because you have all of these, not just the kids, but the coaches, the facilitators, the cooks, they're all in here. And they all have a way to just connect and talk and be friends. So be like, do what Jesus told us to do. Treat each other that way and love each other that way. And so to have the options to share stories and to pray, and it not just be, it was amazing what we had before, to be able to exchange letters with one kid and send them gifts and things like that. But to be able to impact just the whole community and say, you know what, God wants me to be friends with everyone and to try and reach everybody and treat things in a more full circle kind of way. Yeah. I think the dashboard, like, it enables us to do that, to be more full circle. Yeah. And you can still have those close connections like we've had in the past with a kid or a facilitator or a coach, whatever, but now it's opened up to just way more than that.
It's very inclusive.
Yeah.
All the kids, there's not any kids who are like, oh, where's my sponsor? Like, no, you have a whole group of friends right here at your fingertips who are always, and I love that it's so reciprocal heavy. So like, I can jump on the dashboard and be like, hey guys, I have a prayer request. Like, can y'all pray for me? And those kids genuinely pray over you and support you and cheer for you just as much as you're like praying for them and supporting them. So you guys like did such an incredible job. Like, I know it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work on the back end. We see the beautiful front end and it's really fun, but the back end was a lot of work. But just thank you for this gift. Like, it's so much fun to get to see.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's like, you don't have to wait weeks for letters. Like,
yeah,
you just
I know.
get, and then there's like a reply right there. Okay.
It's awesome.
It's really cool. I love it. Okay. I didn't ask you this earlier. This is my last question. I have two questions. Who is one of your best friends? It can't be Julia.
Okay. Can't be Julia. And I probably can't use my family.
No relatives.
Oh gosh, because I want to say my grandma, but
I'll let you say grandma. That's good.
My grandma, I have the strangest relationship with her. She's the person that has been the most consistent through my entire life.
Wow.
My mom, just she went through a lot, and she had all of us kids, different marriages, and there were times where we were living apart and just going through all these different things. And my mom, 3 kids, you're divided, you're split between, you can only do so much at a time.
Yeah.
And same thing with my grandma, but my grandma was always just so intentional and so steady.
That's awesome.
My grandma's lived in the same house for her entire life. And the house is like 180 years old, and it's like, it's only been our family that's lived there since they built it. And so she's just like steadfast, just
that's
like
what's her name?
Karen.
Grandma Karen.
Yes, indeed.
Shout out. We love you.
She's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that's your answer. That's so good. Okay, what should we read? What should we listen to? Give us some homework. What are you reading right now? Or listening to?
Right now I'm
binge watching.
Favorite
recipe. Just recommend something.
We could be super holy and be like, you should read the Bible.
Okay, no. Besides that, best friend can be your spouse on this one.
Okay.
No Bible.
Gosh, I'm such a bad reader. It
doesn't have to be a book, but just like, what's fresh in your. What are you enjoying?
What am I enjoying?
It could be to go for a walk. I don't know.
I've been listening to. There's a band called.
Music.
Yeah, music. It's called Isla Vista Worship, and there's a guy. His name's Mark Barlow, that does a lot of stuff with them, and it is like. It's definitely worship music, but it's not like church worship music. Yes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like, I've never heard people make music about Jesus that sounds like this, and so it's very interesting.
I'm excited. I'm always looking for.
I've been getting hooked.
Okay.
It's like
I'm gonna go listen like today.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Go crazy.
That's a good recommendation. Okay, how can we find you on social media, or wherever? What's your address?
My address. Everything I always do. michaelali.png.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's a little lame, but
I get it. That's cool.
It's stuck now, and Michael Ali is taken, so I had to. I just didn't know what to do, because I was like, people will put like a bunch of underscores or like change the I to a 1, and I was like, I want it to still be clean.
I like it.
So
cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Heart. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. We hope you loved it. If anything stuck out to you, drop a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things. And if you're looking for us on social media, you can find us at Children's Cup.